In the Army National Guard, family means everything.
Our parents, they were really supportive that all 5 of us would join. I got my education because of the Guard. I got to travel a little bit and experience a whole different culture. It helped me get my job, helped me pay for my house.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard instills pride that you and your family will share. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Utah Army National Guard. Aired by the Utah Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Kushinka. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Why Democratic leaders across the country are sounding the alarm about the impact of the raft of new voting laws passed by Republican legislatures. Law schools are losing their luster as debts mount and salaries stagnate, and how real refunds for canceled flights could help fix flying. That's Monday on This Morning, America's First News.
Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news, weather, and sports.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
The following is a paid program of commercial time on KVNU. The information, offers, and claims are solely those of the sponsor and not the opinions of this station, its affiliates, management, or employees. It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without a homegrown tomatoes? Only 2 things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
Good morning. Good morning, sorry. And welcome to the Garden Guide. It's a nice and smoky day out there.
Just like yesterday. Kind of took me off guard a little bit, Mark.
That's why I was
like,
that
wow.
little frog in my throat.
Maybe. You know what? That's what I would say, too.
That's got to be it.
That's what I would say, too.
It has definitely irritated a lot of people with the not so lovely skies out there. I mean, weather's perfect. Woke up this morning and it was like nice, like temperature-wise. Oh, it felt so good.
I think I woke up and it was like something like 54, and that was cold to me. I was like,
I was like,
I don't know.
Oh, it felt great when I went outside to come down to the radio station. I was like, oh, this feels really good. Then I looked up. It's like, that doesn't look so good.
No, it doesn't look super great.
Nobody likes the smoke, but hopefully it will clear out this weekend, and we'll be back to a little bit more normal skies and maybe a little bit more moisture again. So it's been nice to have a little bit of rain and a little cooler temperatures. Everybody's plants are responding. It seems like everybody's lawns have kind of just like perked up on their own with that little bit of moisture that we got. So it has been a nice surprise to have cooler temperatures so far in August and some monsoonal moisture as well too. Let's keep our fingers crossed for a little bit more of that. So at Anderson's this weekend, we've got all of our trees, our flowering and shade trees are on sale. Our remaining fruit trees are on sale as well too. I think we only have a few apples and maybe a few pie cherries left, but we do have some good apples left. So I thought I saw some Honey Crisp or some Cosmic Crisp and a few other really good varieties that might be of interest to someone. But all of our trees are on sale. All of our shrubs, flowering shrubs, evergreen shrubs, deciduous shrubs, they're all 25% off right now. And if you pay with cash, you can get an extra 10% off of that. So it'll give you a 35% discount if you want to pay with cash. So cash is not debit card, cash is not credit card or check. It's green bills with the presidents on them. So the cash sale is going on right now, 25% off with an extra 10%. And for those of you listening to the show today, I had to grow some black cherry tomatoes for a class that we were doing, and I have some extras. And if you would like a black cherry tomato to try, they are not producing fruit right now, I have to admit, but they probably will in about 45 days. So by mid-September, you could have them producing. I've just threw a couple in pots on my driveway so I could kind of protect them if the weather turns bad, so I could keep them growing and try a few late tomatoes. So I have some free black cherry tomato plants if you would like to stop in, and all you gotta do is ask for one, and I'll have a free black cherry tomato for you just for listening to the radio show today. So you could take one with you to Wyoming.
There you go.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
You could stop in, get one, put it in a pot, take it with you.
keep it alive.
Keep it alive.
TLC,
out there. Yep,
you know.
Yep. And when the weather gets below freezing in about 3 weeks in Evanston, then
we can start over and I'll go get another one.
You could bring it inside. So, and unfortunately, this just might be Cody's last day helping out on the Garden Guide.
This is, and it's been super fun to be on the Garden Guide.
It has been. I've had such a blast with you, so it's been great. I'm sorry to see you go, but also excited about your new opportunities.
New chapters, new beginnings. Everyone's been there. Yeah.
So thank you for your assistance this year. You've been amazing.
No problem, Mark.
It has definitely been a lot of fun, so I appreciate you being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me on, Mark.
Yeah. Phone lines are open if you want to call in with questions or comments. We've got a lot of different things we can talk about on the show today. Hobo spiders are kicking up like crazy. We can help you figure out how to get those guys under control. And flies. Good grief, the flies have just been out of control. We had 10 flies that popped up in the house yesterday, and it seemed like we were fighting them all evening, trying to get those stupid things out of the house. But hobo spiders, flies, planting fall crops. I planted my fall corn just a couple of weeks ago, and it is going crazy. It is just come up and growing like mad, so I'm excited about that. I've seen some odd sections of fire blight showing up in people's trees, which is really, really late for fire blight to be showing up. But I would say this week I've seen 3 or 4 samples of fire blight. 1st of August, very odd. So if you're seeing some odd things happening in your apples or your pear trees, could possibly be a little bit of fire blight showing up late. And I think it has a little bit to do with the drought and the heat kind of slowing things down, and maybe it's become a little bit active after our odd weather. And we're seeing billbugs, grubs, sod webworm moths. We definitely want to get those guys under control, right now as well too. And the critters are going after my corn.
Oh, no.
Already again? Already. So I put a repellent out. We definitely need to talk about that. And a couple unwanted visitors that we caught in our live trap this week as well, too. So if you'd like to join us on the Garden Guide, like I said, phone lines are open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. So seeing quite a few drought-related issues with plants. I had somebody bring some zucchinis in yesterday that were kind of oddly shaped and kind of lumpy, bumpy looking, and definitely related to the drought and dry soils and hot temperatures. Zucchinis produce so quickly. I mean, they grow so fast. They use a lot of water, and so if they're really stressing for water, they'll get kind of lumpy and odd shaped, and so will cucumbers as well too. And they become bitter. They don't taste as good as well too. So we're seeing some drought-related issues on some of the harvest that we're seeing right now as well too. So a lot of different things we can talk about. Call in with your questions or comments, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. And Cody, we've got our first caller already.
First caller this morning. We have Charles on the phone.
All right. Good morning, Charles. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning, Mark. I have a couple of questions. I have bell peppers, and I also have tomatoes. I'm getting brown on the bottoms of my tomatoes.
Yes.
I thought perhaps I was watering too much, but the minute I cut back on the watering, the plants just kind of died like limp rags.
Went wilty.
And so I watered them back up again, and I wondered if there's any. I'm doing them in grow boxes. My first attempt at elevated 12-inch deep grow boxes.
Right.
Water pools at the bottom of it when I water it, and then it drains on down. It's got good drainage. But
sure.
Is there anything else that I can do?
Yeah,
to stop that?
In those containers, you're going to have to water a little bit more frequently depending on the type of soil you've got in there, because the soil is going to dry out really fast. And so it's not unusual for you to have to water every day in a container, especially if they're elevated and you've got air circulation underneath. And so don't worry about having to water every single day. It's not fun to have to do that, but unfortunately, the soil is going to dry out that quickly and your plants will react. But what you're dealing with is a problem that's it's called blossom end rot. And the blossom end rot happens on tomatoes very consistently, peppers, and we will see it in a lot of summer squash as well too. And it has to do with a calcium deficiency in your soil. And potting soil does not have a lot of minerals in there, and so it's definitely lacking calcium. So if you're not using a fertilizer that has calcium in it, you're going to have blossom end rot showing up on your plants. Our water has calcium in it, but it's very slow to move through the plant. So it takes a long time for the plant to pick it up through the root system and then run it all the way through the plant, and it just doesn't quite get out to the end of the fruit, and so you get these brown sunken spots on the bottom of the fruit. So you're not the only one that's dealing with that this year. In fact, we've seen a lot of it. It's kind of aggravated by really high temperatures and drought conditions. And so it's aggravating the problem as well too. And so there's a very easy solution. We've got a couple different products that have calcium in them that are liquid. You can just spray it right on the plant, and it's in a form that is much quicker and moves very fast through the plant. And so it should correct the problem on the fruit that's developing right now. Unfortunately, the ones that have been damaged, they're not going to recover. But your new fruit that's coming on that hasn't been affected yet, it will keep those clean and free of the blossom end rot. So Fertilome has one. It's called Yield Booster. It comes ready to use. So in a trigger sprayer, it's already mixed up for you. And it also comes concentrated, and you just spray the plant with it just once a week. Once a week for a couple weeks, and that should clear it up for the rest of the season. I also have a Cal Mag product from Fox Farm that's really great too, that has a little bit of nitrogen, some calcium, and some magnesium in there, which will help them bloom and set more fruit as well too. So very easily fixed, but unfortunately it's probably a combination of your soil and the weather conditions.
Okay, what was the name of that first product that's already pre-mixed?
It's called Yield Booster, and it's calcium chloride, and so it's very safe to use on the plant. You just spray the plant with it, it absorbs it in through the leaves and runs it through the plant very quickly, and it will correct that. It'll correct that problem for you.
Yeah, they'll need help right away, because those bell peppers looked really great at first.
Yeah.
And of course, but
it'll show up on the peppers, and then if your peppers are like really exposed to like the late afternoon sun, we've been seeing a little bit of sunburn on the sides of the peppers as well too. But the blossom end rot will be right on the end, right where the blossom formed. And so, spray it in the evening when it's not so hot, 8 o'clock, 8:30, when it's nice and cool out there. Spray the plants with it. They'll absorb it in. They'll be fine the next day, even if it turns into, 95-degree day. So no problems there.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mark.
You are welcome. Thanks for calling this morning, and good luck with your raised beds.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
All right. Have a great weekend. All right. We've got some phone lines open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. So even if you're using a good fertilizer with calcium in it, as hot as the temperatures have been, it can cause problems with the blossom end rot. It's a circulatory system issue. And the calcium is highly available in our water and in our soils, like our regular garden soils, but it's very slow to move. It's not very mobile. And so once the plants pick it up, it takes a long time for them to run it all the way through the plant. And the furthest distance that it has to go is all the way out to the fruit and then to the very end of the fruit. And it just doesn't quite get out there. Mm-hmm. And so it can cause blossom end rot. I had a few on some of my early tomatoes.
Okay.
But the rest of them have cleared dried up, and it definitely aggravated by drought conditions and high temperatures and really dry soils. So it can be a problem. especially when you plant your tomato in a container.
That would make lots of sense.
Yes. Well, the potting soil that you're going to use in a container is wonderful for absorbing and holding moisture, but it's mostly peat moss and perlite and vermiculite. There's no minerals in there, so that's why it's critical that you maybe put some humate that's going to put some micronutrients in there, maybe some azomite. Also has some good calcium in there, and then use a fertilizer that has calcium in it as well too. So the Natural Guard tomato and vegetable food has calcium. The Happy Frog tomato and vegetable food has calcium in it just for this particular reason. And calcium nitrate is really great for blossom and drought as well too, because the calcium is piggybacked on the nitrogen. So the plants will pick up the nitrogen, and it moves very readily, very quickly through the plant.
A lot faster.
Yeah, but then it pulls the calcium right along with it. So very, very cool. Phone lines are open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. 5868. So this week, unfortunately, we had some what we thought were raccoons getting into our corn, and so I put out the animal stopper, since it works on smaller rodents, and so we were going after the raccoons. So I put animal stopper out there. I used a little bit of the liquid as well as some granule, and very pleasant smell. You can smell the cinnamon and the mint and the rosemary that's in there, so it's not offensive to people, but it keeps the critters out. So I put that all through the corn patch, and I did a nice heavy dose all the way around to try and keep those critters from coming in. And then we set up our live trap. And we put the live trap probably 20 or 30 feet away from the corn patch. And it's like, all right, if those guys come back to get some, they're going to not want to go into the corn, and they're going to find this nice little snack over here. We did some marshmallows with a little bit of honey, and I put some bananas out there too, just to give them a couple options, little buffet style.
There you go. It's all about the setup. Presentation, Mark.
Got the live trap there, and got up the next morning, went out there, and noticed the trap had tripped, and so it's like, oh, we caught somebody. Went out there, it was a skunk.
Oh, there you go. That's fun.
Oh yes, it is fun. So we caught 2 skunks this week. So it was the skunks that were nibbling on my corn.
There you go.
Those darn little
critters. Critters talk. Word gets around. Word on the street is Mark Anderson's corn is delicious.
It is delicious, and it's not quite ready yet. So they were disappointed, but they damaged a couple ears. And then as I looked at the damage, I'm like, okay, it is really low to the ground. So it's like, all right, it probably wasn't raccoons, but it was the skunks. So 2 nights in a row, we caught skunks. And I'll tell you, they are not fun to get out of the traps.
Frankly, I've never caught a skunk before, but I would believe you on that one.
We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So call in with questions or comments, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. And we've got another caller.
Yes, we do. Here we go. Here's Wayne on the line.
All right. Good morning, Wayne. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hey, you guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I got a question. I cut down 2 aspen trees that were causing sucker problems in my front yard.
Yes.
So I cut them flush. With the ground, and then I went into your store, and they sold me some brush and stump killer, I guess it is.
Very good.
Now, I'm just wondering if I have the right stuff. I drilled holes down in the stumps also.
Okay. All right. You've got the right stuff. The brush and stump killer will go down into the root system and kill the whole root system out, so you don't have 1,000 suckers popping up all over the place.
I tell you, they were bad.
Yep, that's because as soon as you cut the tree down, it goes, time to recreate, and we're going to create new suckers all over the place, and it's just like poof, all over.
Right.
So what you want to do is, how big around was that trunk? I mean, diameter.
Oh, they were probably about 6 inches in diameter.
Okay, so not too bad. The brush and stump killer, you want to use it undiluted, and you're going to put it right on the fresh cut of the stump. If you drilled the holes in, that's great. You can put some in the holes, but really we want to concentrate it on the very first outside diameter inch. So the very first inch from the bark in, that's right where you want to put it. So I'll just take the bottle and like an old paintbrush that I am fine if I just throw it away when I'm done using it. And I'll just pour some right on the stump and then brush it so it goes like all the way around that first inch of the stump, and then go down the sides of the stump if you can a little bit as well too, right where the bark is attached. And that's going to absorb that in, and then run it down through the root system and kill those suckers off. The other thing you can do is you could take it and cut some of the new suckers that have already started to come up and paint it right on those fresh cuts as well too. It'll work a little bit faster into other parts of the root system if you do that. And so you don't have to do like every single one, but try and do some in a few different strategic locations, and it will do the same thing. It'll absorb that in, run it down and through the root system, and just like I said, don't dilute it, just use it the way it is. And in a month you will have no more suckers, and that root system will be completely dead.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I'll do that.
You're very welcome. Good luck with your tree, and hopefully you've got plans to replace it with more trees.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling this morning, Wayne. You have a great one.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, we've got a few minutes before we're going to take a break here, so if you would like to join Cody and I for Cody's Bon Voyage.
Bon Voyage, that's right.
His last episode of the Garden Guide, you can call in at 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. We'd love to have you join us here on the Garden Guide. So yesterday I had to go out and prune a major branch off one of our cherry trees because some bacterial bud blight had shown up on our cherry trees. And the bacterial bud blight looks very similar to the fire blight, which affects apples and pears. And there is a slight possibility that it could have been fire blight because it does affect cherries from time to time. But I had some globs of sap that had come out on that branch, and so it looked more like bacterial bud blight to me. But it's very odd for it to show up here in August. It's really strange. I've had multiple customers come in with fire blight issues, and usually we get the hot temperatures of the summer, and it slows the fire blight down to the point that it doesn't spread anymore. And so we haven't seen hardly any fire blight through late June and into July. It just kind of stopped with the heat. And now it's kind of starting to show up again.
Come back again.
Yeah, it's really it's very, very odd. So if you've got an orchard, if you've got apples or pears or crab apples or flowering pear, kind of keep an eye out for a little bit of fire blight showing up because it's popping up.
I haven't seen anything yet on any of my plants like that, knock on wood, but it's kind of good to keep your eye out and know what you're looking for, and so you can catch it earlier, right?
Yes, and so you'll see the leaves have turned a different color. So they've turned, like on the apples, they'll go kind of a rusty brown, a rusty tan color, and on the pears they will turn black. And so definitely keep an eye out for that. And right where it is starting to attack the tree, you'll see the leaves and the stems, like the twigs, will go kind of a shepherd's crook shape. They'll kind of bend over, and so you'll get this like distinct shepherd's crook look to it, and it's just very odd. So the best thing to do, and this is what I did, is went out there, sterilized my pruner and my saw, took a little disinfectant spray, sprayed those down, cleaned them up, pruned off the parts that were being affected, and I went 6 to 8 inches past the last visible damage, so I had to take a pretty good sized branch off because parts of that whole branch had been affected, and cleaned my pruners or my saw, disinfected those after each cut, and disposed of the prunings so that they were out of the way of the tree. And then tonight I'm going to spray it with garden foss to try and prevent it from spreading any further. So it's critical that you get those parts of the tree pruned out as much as possible. If it's a really big tree, I know it's hard to get up there and do all the pruning, but make sure and use the garden foss on the trees or shrubs, whatever's being affected by the fire blight, because it can get into Cotonie asters, it can get into roses, it can get into pyracantha, hawthorns, a lot of different plants, and make sure and get that under control before it takes off and really starts to do some damage. So I was very surprised. My son had sent me pictures yesterday morning, said, "Oh, this just showed up in the tree because he's been out there watering and taking care of the trees for me, and had not seen it all summer, and then all of a sudden,
just was there.
Boom! Yesterday it showed up. Yeah,
wow.
So very, very odd. So at Anderson Seed this weekend, we've got all of our trees, flowering trees, shrubs, evergreens, flowering shrubs. They are on sale for 25% off. And if you come in and you pay with cash, you can get an extra 10% off. So instead of getting 25% off, you get 35% off. And great time to grab some trees and shrubs. The plants look amazing. We put new shade cloth up this spring, and the plants look great despite the drought and the hot temperatures. Because of the shade cloth, everything's looking really, really good. But it's time for us to clear things out, make some room for the next busy season at Anderson Seed and Garden. So it's time for us to clear some of those trees and shrubs out. So great time for you to take advantage of the opportunity. 25% off plus an extra 10 if you pay with cash this weekend. And we also are giving away some free black cherry tomatoes. I know it's a little bit late for tomatoes, but I grew some cherry tomatoes for a class, and I've got some extras. They look really, really great. Planted a couple up this week in planters right on my driveway, trying to encourage those to produce a little fruit early. Usually it's about 6 weeks from transplant, so if you plant them right now, they'll be producing the latter part of September. And if you do them in containers, then you can bring them inside if we get some bad weather and keep them going a little bit longer. Put them back outside once the frost is gone, first part of October, and you'll be set. So I have some black cherry tomatoes. If you've never tried the black cherries, they're really fun. I've got one producing out in my garden right now. So I've got a sun sugar, I've got a black cherry, and I've got a sweet baby girl, which is red, and the sun sugar's yellow. So I've got some yellow, some red, and some black cherry tomatoes. We had a little cherry tomato medley last night for dinner. And if you want to try a black cherry tomato, I'd be glad to give you one for free. So just stop in, and I'd be glad to give you one of those nice plants. They're in bare peat pellets, and they're just ready to transplant. They got roots growing out of them like crazy. So
they need a home.
They need a home, and I think you should take one home, Cody.
You think so? Well, I'm going to be in town. I got lots of chores to run.
Take it with you to Wyoming, and you're like, boom, set. Instant garden.
Instant garden.
Yeah, instant garden. So, all right, we're going to take a short break, and phone lines are open. Call in with those questions or comments. We've had 2 awesome questions so far this morning. 753-5868, 753 KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. So we'll be here to answer your questions. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
30 minutes after the hour, I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News Update. It's brought to you by Chim Chimney. Former Utah Governor Mike Leavitt has been named as the new president of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. The announcement was made Friday morning by the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. According to a press release, Leavitt will be joined by his wife Jackie in fulfilling his new role. He replaces Ron Jarrett, who has served as president of the choir since August 2012. Leavitt said that the assignment to lead the choir was a pleasant surprise and will be a great experience for him and his wife.
The Tabernacle Choir has always been a conduit for me of spiritual feelings. It provides a sense of peace, and I know I'm not alone. That music is produced by remarkable, talented people who give of themselves, and they need to be given the latitude to make that music. And I think my job will be to make certain that it's a great experience for them.
Since 1929, the choir has been a phenomenon of broadcasting, with the longest continuous broadcast on radio and later television. Music in the Spoken Word airs weekly on News Talk KVNU Sundays at 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Meanwhile, with the school year now just weeks away for many kids in Utah, public health experts are worried about whether kids too young to get vaccinated will stay safe in school amid a wave of coronavirus cases. Salt Lake County Health Department Executive Director Dr. Angela Dunn told KUTV that the state is in a surge of case counts that are very concerning. Well, hazy, smoky skies expected to continue through the weekend as temperatures are going to stay right around the mid to high 80s the next several days. Overnight temperatures expected to stay right around the mid-50s. We'll feel right for KVNU News.
From ABC Sports, I'm Derek Dennis. After dropping their opening game of the Tokyo Olympics to France, Team USA made the most of their second crack at the French in the men's basketball gold medal game. ABC's Jim Ryan is in Tokyo with more.
This gold medal is tinged with the sweet taste of revenge. It was France that handed the U.S. a loss on the first day of these Olympics. The Americans won every game leading up to this final. France led through much of the first quarter, but the U.S. woke up, took charge after that. The final, Team USA 78, France 82.
On the track, Allison Felix continued to prove that age is just a number. Participating in her fifth Olympic Games, the 35-year-old held off Jamaica's Stephanie Ann McPherson to win bronze in the women's 400-meter to become the most decorated woman in track with 10 Olympic medals.
Society tells us a lot of times you have a child and your best moments are behind you, but that's absolutely not the case. I am representation of that.
This is ABC.
Who do you turn to if you want to change out your qualifying wood or pellet stove? Advanced Fireplace and Stove was voted the gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah in the fireplace retrofit category. With the government's wood and pellet investment tax credit in place right now, Advanced Fireplace and Stove can help you navigate the paperwork for up to a 26% tax credit. That covers everything to have a new gas unit installed. For more information, call Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Your new career is waiting for you at New Horizons Beauty College. One of the most versatile careers today is cosmetology. And what sets New Horizons apart from the other beauty schools is their affordable tuition, smaller class sizes, and most importantly, job placement. Many graduates of New Horizons Beauty College manage or own a surprising number of salons throughout northern Utah. They have a large clientele, so students receive hands-on experience. New Horizons is now enrolling for classes. To begin your career with style, call 753-9779.
The Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
We are back here at the Garden Guide. We are taking your calls, answering your questions, and we're talking about all the crazy things that are going on out in the yard and garden and environment right now. So yeah, kind of unusual circumstances between the smoke that isn't even our own smoke that's coming in.
Nope,
it's not even close.
Well, yesterday I was walking around with my wife and you can smell it. It almost had a tangible. We're like, well, it's got to be close, and we look. It's like, nope. It's quite a ways away.
Coming from California and Oregon, so we're getting their smoke. So hopefully the jet stream will change a little bit, and we'll get some wind and clear this out. And some rain would be really nice to clean that out as well, too. But hot conditions have been kind of hard on the plants, but the cooler weather and the rain this last week or 10 days has been amazing. And so it seems like the gardens have responded very nicely. Flowers are blooming.
Mine has.
Yeah, flowers are blooming like crazy, and the veggies are kicking up. And so it's good conditions for growing, not great conditions for being outside doing a lot of activities with the smoke. So that's the way it's going. But a lot of things going on at Anderson Seed and Garden. We've got some great sales going on. Our trees and shrubs are on sale, so we're starting our fall clearance sale. 25% off, extra 10% off if you pay with cash. I have some free black cherry tomatoes if you are interested in doing black cherry tomatoes. They are good sized, but they're not producing any fruit yet. But we're talking 4 to 6 weeks, and they'll be producing. I am recommending you put them in containers so you can grow them on your patio or on your driveway or outside somewhere, and then bring them inside so they'll produce for you. But the black cherries have a very distinct flavor. My daughter really likes the black cherries because they're not as sweet as, like, say, the Sun Sugars or the Sweet Baby Girls that we've got. She likes them a little more tangy, so that's kind of the way the black cherries work, but still very sweet and good. So you'll have to come in and get a free plant and try them out. So that would work out really well. So we have phone lines that are open.
Yes, we do.
753-5868, 753-KVNU. And I'm sure there's lots of different questions out there. Someone's just waiting to call in and ask. But we've had a couple good questions already about brush and stump killer, how to get rid of unwanted suckers, so you don't have them coming up, and also blossom end rot was a great question. We've talked fire blight. We have talked about some other interesting things. Hobo spiders, though. Spiders are starting up like crazy, so we have had to do some traps and spray at my house because they are starting to get aggressive. So either the aggressive house spiders or the hobo spiders, they're the same thing, and they are finding homes for the fall and winter, and they're starting to come inside, so they're really starting to become a problem. And so I like to put some traps out. So I've got spider traps. They come in packs of 5, and they are safe to use. They are non-toxic. They don't have any pesticides or anything in them, and you can fold them up into little triangles and put them in strategic locations around your house, like one in the pantry, one underneath the sink, one behind the garbage can, one in the furnace room, wherever you think those spiders are trafficking, that's where you want to put them. And then what I do is when I notice that the spiders are accumulating in the traps, then it's time to do a little bit of spraying. And I've got some sprays that we like to use indoors that are very, very safe to use inside. Very low toxicity for people. Very, very safe, but extremely effective on controlling all kinds of critters that are coming inside, whether it's spiders or ants or earwigs or box elder bugs, you name it. Works great on those. My go-to is called Seismic. The Seismic is a microencapsulated insecticide, which means that each molecule of the insecticide has been encapsulated in these little microcapsules. And so when the water evaporates, it leaves the microcapsules with the insecticide in there. And the capsules, by reverse osmosis, when the water evaporates around them, then they become dry on the outside, and then it releases the insecticide out of the capsules. And so it works very, very slowly, and so it will release the insecticide out. It lasts a long time. It's very, very safe. It stays right where you put it, but super, super effective on the insects, and it does a great job. Doesn't smell, doesn't stain. It is awesome stuff, and it's great for aggressive house spiders, hobo spiders, ants, earwigs, box elder bugs, elm seed beetles. It works on all those guys. You can use it around the windows, around the doors, along the baseboards, down the basement, wherever you need to spray it, in the pantry, like I said, underneath the sink, behind the garbage can, wherever you think they're hanging out, and it will do an amazing job. Then I do outside as well, too. Do around the foundation, around the windows, dryer vents, anywhere where you think they might be coming inside, and it's going to do a great job. So Seismic for aggressive house spiders, hobo spiders, and the traps, that's like my go-to combination for getting those guys under control. Phone lines are open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. And who's up next, Cody?
We got Janet on the line.
All right. Good morning, Janet. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hello. How are you today?
Doing great today.
Good. Hey, I've got a different question because it's actually, I was out helping my sister in Paradise do some yard work, and I've never run into this because my soil isn't like this, but I mean, I have clay in my soil, but we could have got out a pottery wheel and made a nice bowl. It was just, it was, the minute it got wet, it's slime. It's clay.
Yep.
But it wasn't in everywhere. It was just around certain areas, and I just didn't know the best way, because these are in established perennial beds.
Yeah.
I mean, where she hasn't really worked it, like around the edges, against her hard landscaping. And so I'm just like, what do you do? What do you have something that's a liquid that would go in and break things down?
Yes.
Before we go in with something else?
Yep. So the best way to break up clay is actually over time and by adding a lot of organic matter. And so the clay particles are the smallest. So when you're really looking at soil structure, there's like sand, there's silt, then there's clay, and they are larger to smaller in that order. So sand's the biggest particle, clay's the smallest particle, and the clay just kind of bind together and clump up. And when it gets wet, it's like you said, it's slimy. It's just like this sticky mud, and it just once it dries, it turns into a brick, and so it's hard to hydrate up. But once it's hydrated up, it's just mud, and it's really hard to deal with. And a lot of plants do not grow well in that type of soil. And so over time, you want to just keep adding organic matter, because the organic matter, the particles are smaller, and so it will get in between the clay particles. It'll break them up, and then you'll have this nice soil that holds moisture really well, but also drains out. Zeolite is great to work into the soil as well, too, because it will help with drainage, but also holding the moisture. So where we were conditioning our garden for multiple years, really, really heavy clay, we'd put straw, leaves, grass clippings, compost. I mean, every year we'd put 2 or 3 inches out there, and then I'd add some zeolite and some humate, and then we'd till it in. And after about 5 or 6 years, all of a sudden, it was just like performing so much better than it was. It was like almost perfect.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's the same in my garden. I did the same thing, but that's easy to till that. But this isn't an established bed.
Right. So
I can't till in it. So
in this situation,
you have to do this.
Yeah, so in this situation, I have a product that is called Groundbreaker. And Groundbreaker is a natural material. It's made from yucca, and you spray it on the soil, and it will condition the soil so that the clay will absorb moisture and allow for drainage as well, too. So it's made to break up hard, heavy clay soils. And
can it get on the plants, or does it just have to be...
Won't hurt the plants at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't hurt the plants at all. You want to spray the soil, but what it will do is it'll make it so that every time the water hits it, it doesn't just like run off. You know, and when you think about the flash floods that are happening down in southern Utah, and you just go, well, why doesn't the soil just like absorb that moisture up? Well, it's because it's so hard, and it's like anti hydrophobic is what we like to it pushes the water away, and so it just runs off the surface. Well, what will happen is if you use the Groundbreaker, it won't do that. It'll absorb it down in. And then, you want to use a conditioner we can put on the surface that will work its way down through. So I'd say use the Garden Max. Garden Max is a ultra composted compost. It's got this similar material in it like the Groundbreaker to get the water and the nutrient to penetrate down into the soil, and it will gradually condition that soil over time. And then what she'll want to do in the future is take the perennials out and recondition that soil, and then plant the perennials back in. Fall would be a great time to do that. She can pull those all out, divide them, separate them, maybe move some, plant them back in there. And at that point, that's where you want to really add the compost and the zeolite and till that in, and then plant back in there. But it's good to kind of clean up your perennial beds about every 3 or 4 years. So that'd be a great time to build that soil back up and try and fix it a little bit.
Awesome. Okay, great, because I had no clue. So that's wonderful.
So Groundbreaker.
Now I have a question for
Groundbreaker. So it comes in a hose end, and it comes in a concentrate as well, too. And it's great. It's great for clay soils. Yeah, awesome stuff.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so I will be in to get some. And then the grasshoppers, they've been what they've been. And I have a lot of iris, and I've noticed, normally by now I've cut down my leaves and cleaned them up for fall. But they love them, and I'm like, okay, eat that, and they've stayed away from my garden because they've been eating all my iris leaves. But I just realized they're eating all my gladiola leaves as well. And so is that going to affect the ability for my plants to flower?
It could definitely affect your flowering on your glads. So I would spray them. Yeah, 7 or Bug Blaster.
Down the guard, the cedar granule.
Oh, the repellent? Yeah. And the repellent really will help. I did not spray once in my garden for grasshoppers this year, but they were getting out of control. And I've done 2 applications of the cedar granules, and it basically got rid of 95% of the grasshoppers. So I was okay with them nibbling on a few things here and there, but they have just like pretty much gone away. So it will do a really good job. But
is there too much that you can put on? Like, can you put on too much?
It would be tough.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
It'd be very difficult for you to put too much on there. Yeah. So usually a 10-pound bag will cover 2,000 square feet. You'll get at least 2 weeks out of it. I can usually stretch it to 3. So I've done 3. I've done 2 applications so far, and I'm thinking about doing a third. But the insects really haven't been bad this year where I've applied, so we'll put it that way.
Okay. Well, the grasshoppers are making up for every other thing in my yard, so I appreciate that so much. Okay. Well, those are my questions.
All right.
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thanks for calling, Janet.
Yep.
Have a great weekend. All right. Okay, Cody, looks like we've got phone calls.
We've got a full board,
Awesome.
so we're way excited. And let me look and double check. Camry on line 2.
All right. Good morning, Camry. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Oh, thank you. So I had a question. I've got some burning bushes that I've since cut them down to about 6 inches off the ground to see if they'll come back, but they started just dying off in sections, and I could not figure out what the issue was.
Lots of interesting things going on this year. Where they're planted, do you have like weed barrier and bark and stuff down, or are they just kind of out in the open?
There's weed barrier and rock.
And rock. Okay. The ones that were struggling, is it all of them that are struggling, or is it just a few here and there?
No, I had 2 in 2 separate beds, and in the one bed it was the only burning bush in that bed, but all the other bushes there are looking really good.
Okay.
And then one of them is one of 3 in that bed, but the other 2 look great.
Look fine. Okay. Usually when there's weed barrier and bark or gravel or rock or something down, the burning bush really struggle if they get too wet. And so if they're close to a sprinkler or a dripper and they're really getting saturated, they will start to turn yellow. The leaves will kind of start to color up prematurely. They'll wilt like they're not getting enough water, and so then you're tempted to give them more water. But in this situation, it's almost always, I would say 90 times out of 100, they're too wet. And they're just soggy. If you were to cut the weed barrier back and really dig down in there, it's either going to be like super, super dry, or it's going to be just like soggy, mucky, wet mud. And they will really struggle in that wet condition. And that's what I suspect.
They never got yellow. The leaves stayed green.
Yeah.
They just dried up and got crispy and turned kind of a light green, and then they faded to brown and just like after they were gone.
Yeah.
Like it was weird.
Yeah. Well, there's no diseases that really affect the burning bush that way, so we can almost eliminate disease right off the bat. Insects won't make the leaves do that, so it's got to be something environmental. And so I would say, cut the weed barrier, pull the gravel or the rock back a little bit, cut the weed barrier, check your soil conditions and see what's going on. But like I said, most of the time when people are having problems with burning bush, they are just ultra wet, like super saturated, and that causes major problems for it. It suffocates the roots, basically. And so check your soil conditions. I think you'll find that it's like either really, really dry or really, really wet in those locations.
Okay.
All right. They could come back, and so that would work out fine. You may have to replace them, and then just kind of adjust your watering accordingly to what you find. So.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Good luck, and have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
All right. See ya. Okay, phone lines are still full.
Very full, yep.
All right, still full. Great.
We're going to roll over to Christine, and then we're going to go Joanne and then John. So
Okay,
we're going to try and
sounds
fit
good.
these people in. Here's Christine first, though.
Good morning, Christine.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great this morning.
Okay. I have 2 questions, so I will hurry.
Okay.
I went out to check my strawberries to water them because they're in a whiskey barrel.
Yes.
And I first noticed that the leaves were turning reddish.
Yes.
And now I've noticed on part of the leaves they've got brown streaks going through them.
Is it
Well, I
all?
need to
Is it
bring-
all the strawberries or just a few?
It looks like it's maybe half or more.
Yeah. All right. When the leaves turn red, that is usually kind of a stress condition. And so
Okay.
definitely see if they're staying too wet or if they're staying too dry. So that could be part of
Okay.
the problem. There is a disease, the botrytis, that gets into the strawberries as well too. So it could be botrytis that will cause them to stress like that. And then your fruit will get moldy really fast if they get botrytis. In fact, sometimes before they've even ripened up, they'll start to get like a brown or a gray mold on them, and it can affect the stems of the plants as well too. And then they'll turn red, then they'll turn brown, and then it's time for new plants. So that's a possibility. Bring me a sample. Yes, that would be
Good.
really
Are you gonna
really
be in
helpful.
today?
I will be there until at least 1 o'clock. I might have a
Okay.
couple commitments this afternoon. So
Okay, and then I was wondering, I have places that a brown in my lawn, and that doesn't bother me, or yellow. But my question was, is I wanted to integrate some of the grass that's tolerant. Can I do that in places that are already, like you walk down my stairs and there's places where the grass is gone?
Yeah.
Could I integrate it in with my other grass, and how would I do that if I can?
Absolutely. This, from now until about the 20th of September, is like the best time of year to plant grass, like the absolute best time of year to plant grass. And in the areas where the grass is completely gone, you can just kind of rake it lightly and then seed in there and then rake it again, maybe put a little bit of peat moss over the top of it, just something to help hold the moisture, and you'll have grass up in a week. If you start watering, it'll come up so fast. And in most cases, depending on which type of grass you use, it'll blend in very well with the existing grass that you've got. So I would recommend for like our most drought-tolerant varieties, you've got the Marks Mix, which is a blend of rye and turf-type fescues. And it's super dark green. It is insect and disease resistant. It is drought tolerant. You could, water it once a week, and it would be just green for most of the summer, and it would really do a great job. And if you want to go even more drought tolerant, I've got just a turf-type fescue blend that's really nice. It's a little coarser grass, though. It's not as soft as, like, say, a bluegrass or a rye. And so if you want it to blend in better with the grass that you've got, and you've got Kentucky bluegrass, do a blue-rye mix. So, like, our Colorado Premium would be excellent because it will look very similar to your bluegrass. It'll be darker green, but you can water it half as much, and it will still stay green and look beautiful. So
I mix this in, and some of it will get water, and other will get other water.
Yeah. So when you're planting new grass, the key is to keep it slightly damp all day. So I'll water for like 3 to 5 minutes 3 times a day just to keep a little bit of moisture out there, and that grass will be up in like a week. And if you're overseeding an area where there's existing grass, just mow it down really close and then overseed and then rake it and get that seed to come in contact with the soil. And if you can, put a little bit of mulch over the top or aerate it before you plant. That'll give the seed somewhere to take and grow a little bit faster. So, okay. All right.
I'll bring me
a sample.
Strawberry.
Perfect.
I'll bring you strawberry leaf in.
All right.
Okay,
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Let's see. Joanne's up next.
Yes, here's Joanne.
All right. Good morning, Joanne.
Good morning, Mark. When I was in the store the other day, I bought a couple of cannas. I think they're absolutely beautiful, but I didn't ask. I assume they're perennial.
They are bulbs, and they are not perennial, and so you've got to dig them up. Yeah, the cannas are absolutely gorgeous, but our winters will probably kill them. So what we do with our cannas, they're easy to like winter and to have ready for next year. So in September or early October, first light frost, trim the cannas down so there's about 2 inches of stem left, and just take the tops all off, compost that. Dig those bulbs up, put them in a cardboard box, throw some wood shavings or a little bit of peat moss or vermiculite in there with them to kind of pack them in, and then just put them in a cool, dry spot down the basement and just leave them there until probably end of March or so. And then end of March, 1st of April, pull those bulbs out. They'll be big. You can see where like the little new shoots are coming up off of them. You can cut them at that point if you want to, and then just throw them in some 1 gallon or 2 gallon pots and get them started inside. And then they'll have some leaves on them, and you can transplant them out, right after Mother's Day, and start them up again. And they'll actually multiply. So if you've got just like 1 plant this year, next year you'll have 3, and then you'll have 10, and then you'll have 20, and they they go crazy.
Oh, that's a lot of pretty.
But they are gorgeous. A little bit of work, but they're worth it in the long run. So.
All righty, that's what I needed to know.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joanne. Have a wonderful weekend.
You do the same.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Do we have time to sneak John in?
Yes, we do.
All right. John, let's go for it. We got to be quick. You got probably 60 seconds.
I need some help getting rid of morning glory.
The morning glory. Is it?
I understood. I heard you once, and you talked about using Roundup, but I was in the car and didn't have a chance to write it down.
Is it in your lawn or is it in other areas?
It's in an area I'm willing to do anything
Just
to get rid
kill
of
everything
it.
in there.
I'm willing to kill the whole next to the house.
The best product I've got for morning glory, and it will kill grass and everything else as well too. But you can plant right back in there 24 hours after you spray, so it breaks down really quickly. It's called Decimate, and the Decimate is not Roundup. It's completely different from Roundup, but it kills whatever you spray it on, and it does an awesome job on morning glory. So try the Decimate, and then you can plant, as soon as it's dead, you can just till that soil up and plant right back in there, and away you go. So
Great.
Decimate, John.
Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. You have a wonderful weekend. All right. Well, our time is just about up.
Yep.
We have like 5 seconds left. So
basically, no, we're good.
Thanks to everyone for calling in this morning. Free black cherry tomato plants if you stop in and mention it. And it's cash sales going on, so get an extra 10% off if you pay with cash on your trees and shrubs. And we'll see you next week with a new edition of The Garden Guide.
1 FM.